that it was located and all that. Right. Right. Oh, that's good. That's good.
I emailed the office.
Yeah. All right. So you had you met Ernie and you you were able to know who you are now. Card. And
Only a week so you can still
and where you at now at the library?
This past week we were just
You can go back and rest a little bit or something.
Okay. So you're gonna face with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Text me. Let's talk about it. No, definitely. I want to give him my
Is that right? Oh yeah, yeah. See.
Okay, let me get your number too.
Number 203 521
Okay, cool.
2722.
Okay. I got around. I just wanted to check in. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Be blessed, man. Bye.
All right, yes.
Right.
47
47.
7777.
Oh, 7777.
Yeah.
So you're a Boeing guy.
I'm boy.
Okay.
At Gmail.
Your coffee still turning on.
Can you tell?
Oh. Oh boy.
Just get your character. That's all. It's okay.
Good thing the topic is not on the chair.
Character. Now I know. I look at these stains. Yeah, that happened at CPE.
CPE things.
Alright, so we'll do Michael on the drama triangle, and your covenant group.
Drama triangle. I don't get that.
And next week, we'll have Sammy on chapter 1 of the Carrie Dorn book, and Lyle on the Promise of the Soul. I left in my car, I think, one of the first emails kind of introducing the class, I had two attachments. Or no, I probably just, there's a book called Promise of the Soul. The Covenants, when I gave out all those personality tests, one of them was what covenant do you have? Personal covenant. There was Wanter, Giver, Searcher.
Wanter.
And I'll send it again, and I'll send them some more pages. So for next week, just reread chapter 1, be ready to talk about it, and I'll send you attachments to read about the covenant, and think about what your personal covenant is. Because Lyle will talk about that. We'll also have Deborah with us, so we're going to be at Maloney.
No lunch for you guys.
Yeah,
You can have the lift. The whole purpose is that you people come here. It was a bribe.
And
It is the purpose
that's
to people
successful.
over there.
Successful bride.
Did I hand this out to everybody? Does this look familiar?
No.
No, you mail it to us.
Right. If you want a hard copy,
You
can.
mailed it to us?
Yeah, it's one
Yeah.
of the 4
Email.
Yeah.
email, one of the
Yeah.
4 documents.
Yeah. Maybe I have extras. We'll take it.
Yeah, there should be one for everybody. So when I write your final evaluation, everybody's on level 1, and I'll basically write a paragraph or so on each of those outcomes. If you've done CPE before, it's always the same format that people follow. very sense. And a lot of the final evaluation questions are related to all. Each of those is kind of mentioned in an evaluation that you write for yourself. So it's just helpful to have them all in one place. I do that chart. I haven't been good at it, but it's a good, like, to write notes. As a supervisor, I kind of hold those outcomes in my head, kind of as a way to think about you guys, and it's helpful for you to start thinking about that.
Thinking about how you're thinking about it.
Yep. It always helped me to have kind of a map of what's going on. Some people don't, that confuses them more. But it helps me to have kind of a bigger picture to remember it and make my own sense of it. So, and without further ado, Michael, Christy.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Drama Triangle. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at the book that I'm passing around. Is the book that I was passing around that Lyle has still.
Yeah, one here. Yeah, one here. One over here.
Is a book worth considering to get? Right now I have a volunteer at Garner. It's a prison book. It's a book designed for inmates. And it was written by an inmate who's now a PhD and the guy that trained me, that I got my mindfulness certification and teacher's training. He is also trained, he has a business model that he goes around to DOC and law enforcement across the country, kind of teaching them kind of what the guy was talking about earlier. Archer, was it?
Sean Archer.
About really how to deal with stress and to kind of reduce the short life of lifespan of correctional officers. In this book, which is a workbook for inmates, actually, the person that does it bought them for all of the inmates that are in the class. We're going through it right now. They love it to death. It talks about forgiveness. It talks about the criminality, dealing, kind of acknowledging and facing the impact it has on them and other people. And it also has in there a chapter, I think it's chapter 6 or 7, that deals with the drama triangle. The drama triangle is essentially a theory that says that we're always in this kind of triangle, sometimes with ourselves, And there are 3 components to the triangle. There is the persecutor, which sounds meaner than it might actually be. There is the rescuer and the victim. Those are the 3 roles that are always involved, according to this triangle, in conversations. And they're generally kind of unhealthy roles that people have. And so this conversation is so we can be aware when we ourselves are in a drama triangle, and to try to get off that triangle, to try to shift, to change the pattern that's occurring. Before I get into this, Eric earlier asked, I don't know if you had a chance to think about any drama that's going on in this kind of, that you're willing to share at work or anywhere else in your space, right? Did anybody get a chance to do that? Yeah? Anybody want to talk about?
I'll go second.
Okay, I'll go first then.
And I want to acknowledge this one. Today, he's been out the box several times. Up front, man, so thank you, brother.
When all of us others were boxing against him. You were the first one to box for him. Good for him.
Well, he said, I thought he was going to say I'll go first, you know. But he said I'll go second, and I was
No,
like,
you're talking about earlier.
No, I'm talking about earlier when we
Yeah.
were all telling him he shouldn't have brought up her family. You were the first one to stand up for him. Good for you. I'm acknowledging that. Sorry, Phil.
You want to go first?
yeah. So, should I frame it in terms of drama triangle?
You know what it is. You're familiar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, no, I mean, just in terms of what you just said about the rescue.
Well, tell us and then see if you can identify.
Okay. Okay, so I'm dealing with a chaplain that I don't get along with. And the context is that we had a chaplain who had the position before, and everyone liked him. But he moved to a different facility and they brought someone new. And we've been struggling with the person,
The new person?
the new chaplain. And so the workers have particularly felt the brunt of his presence. They've been very unhappy about workers quit. And now the new workers, some of them might quit as well because of his personality and some of the things he says. So in terms of the drama triangle, I see him as a perpetrator. The workers are victims. And I'm trying to play this rescue role. Unfortunately, it's a very frustrating situation because of the power dynamics. And I also have my own personal conflict with the person. And I realized that within the system, if you know how to play your cards, no one can touch you, especially with the union. And if you know just the limits of the boundaries, you can do a lot of things that are technically wrong, but not get into trouble because there's no proof, and it's not outrageous enough for them to raise hairs or start a big stink or raise a big stink about it. You want more details? So just
I do.
You know.
Yeah.
You can't
Does
leave
that
me
work
here.
for you? Is that enough for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so what's the relationship between you and this other chaplain?
Well, the relationship, he's older, and he was facilitating somewhere else. The place got closed down and came to my facility, and ever since then, I think he feels that I'm too young to hold the position. And he always reminds me that I wasn't that person when he graduated from the academy. You know, and so there's always been this passive-aggressive behavior in terms of, sorry, not the academy, when he graduated from college. There's been this kind of sort of passive-aggressive behavior. Anything I say is like, he'll say it's not my first rodeo. You know, you were a kid when I was doing this. And he will say it jokingly.
So you played more than one role in this triangle?
Yes.
What are the roles that you play?
Well, so between, I hate to say that I see myself as a victim, but I see myself as a target of his aggression, this microaggression, passive, you know.
According to this, that's the victim.
That's the
Yeah.
victim.
Yeah.
I don't like that language either.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So that's just between me and him, but within the context of what's going on right now, he's been giving the workers a very difficult time. And I see they all turn to me to help them, but I also recognize that my role is very limited because the administrators will always take the side of the employer, the staff, or I only tell them to be patient, but getting to a point where I'm very frustrated because I have to hire the workers and train them. And it's not sustainable to keep losing workers. I'm trying to train them.
You're the facilitator?
Yes, I'm the facilitator there.
So, alright, thank you.
It began in 2013, shortly after the shooting in Sandy Hook, where I started to be victimized by a very crazy person that was calling me on the phone and telling me that the shooting never happened. And I took the tact at that time, being acutely aware of what Adam Lanza had done, of trying to talk to not just hang up the phone on him, because I'd be afraid to hang up the phone. That would enrage him, and then he'd come after me. So I wanted to engage in a conversation and say, no, sir, that's not true. I buried, Noah Bozer myself, and I saw his body in his coffin, thinking that I could talk rational to him. But it's some kind of crazy. And finally, he always picks on the parent. He actually harasses the parents of people that lost children in these shootings. And finally, he was done. And you might have seen it in the news and stuff. He was finally incarcerated out in Oregon, and then he got out, and then he started up with me again. And so I've been suffering. I never told my wife about this because I didn't want to freak her or my kids. And so I just took care of it in 2013, and then he piped up again and started. I won't go into all the details, but started basically harassing me and threatening me, and my family in emails and telephone conversations, which I sent to the FBI, and I got a message from the FBI agent on the case that he was 24 hours after I had forwarded all of the file, or most of the file, to her office, saying that he's been arrested. He's going to go back to jail.
Excellent. Not excellent you were harassed, excellent he was arrested.
So I do worry still that that when he gets out of jail, if he will see it as me having done that.
Close to him. You own a firearm?
No.
You should.
So, what roles? Who's playing what roles?
I'm the victim. In fact, he is victimizing me. When this happened, if you notice, my back pulled out, and my health went down. Like it was impacting on me, and so I don't want to be continue to be victimized by him.
Who is the rescuer?
FBI,
Who else?
local police.
Who else would y'all say is possible rescuer?
He did
Those
not
around you will give you comfort.
he did not confine in anyone in his immediate circle. So all his rescuers are external agencies, as I see it.
That is like kind of the default for, especially in the space we work. There's an inmate, there's an officer, and there's us really, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I would also say, you were both victim and rescuer. You were rescuing yourself at times. By not telling them you were rescuing. You were rescuing your family by getting them involved. Because they were in it, not even knowing it, right? Yeah, unknown victim. All right, let me run through this real quick and then we'll talk some more about it. Oh, okay, perfect. You guys kind of got the gist of it. The triangle, as you can see, is the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victim. And generally, as the second picture kind of shows, and I like pictures, so we'll use that. The rescuer can oftentimes become the victim and vice versa. And the rescuer can also be seen as the persecutor. How is that unfolded in Usman's story? How is the rescuer seen as a persecutor in Usman's story?
Person seen as a victim, bro. I think the two roles he played is the rescuer and the victim, rather than the persecutor.
Right.
But the other chaplain sees him as a persecutor.
Exactly.
Right. From all three.
Exactly. The other chaplain sees him as a persecutor. Exactly.
You're persecuting me.
See, like he's getting in the
You're
way.
doing my
Right.
job. You're doing my.
And the other officers also playing the role of a victim, right? When he starts accusing you of diaper stuff, did this before a diaper, he's saying you're taking something away from him, almost like he's a victim of your youth.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Isn't this from a singular perspective?
What do you mean?
This triangle is the center of this triangle is me, an individual. Unless we are looking at, that's how I see it too, rather than see it as an outside observer looking at Osman, the other chaplain, and the inmates. I look at it from, I am Osman,
Correct.
I am in this position,
Yeah.
so at no point Osman sees himself as a persecutor, because he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. job. That guy seems to have a chip on his shoulder. So,
Yes.
so it's a singular point of view, which is mine, or in this case, Taylor's point of view. Am I understanding it correctly? It's a question rather than.
Yes. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, you are the person in the middle, but the roles aren't fixed.
That I
you-
understand.
And you're not always aware of the role you're playing, right? Because you might consider yourself a victim.
Right.
You might think that way. But others think, nah, you're the persecutor. And so that matters in the sense that for you to get off the triangle, to be aware of that, like, I think I'm a victim, but they think I'm the persecutor.
Right.
It informs me in terms of how I need to shift up there. So, am I really the victim? Or am I the persecutor? Right? Am I doing both things, which you can?
Yeah.
I can be the victim and the persecutor. Because sometimes the victims can lash out and become the persecutor. They rescue themselves. You can rescue yourself and become a persecutor, right? In terms of how you defend yourself. Then you go back at somebody really hard and saying kind of harsh stuff. Now you become the persecutor. So
I have something that. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I had an inmate that I'm working with, doing like 90 years in prison. He started coming to services. And, I wrote about him verbatim where he was getting in trouble with tax staff and everything, but then he didn't get no tickets for a year. He's doing good. So was the Id Feast, and they didn't let him come. It was his first Id Feast, right? And I called the CO myself. I called the block again. I said, well, send Joyce down. Because I knew how important it was his first Ramadan. He's finding some hope in something. They still don't send him. So now I get upset about that, because I know they did it on purpose. So I take his food and I go down to the block. And to Captain, down there. So at that point, I felt like the rescue. I was going down to rescue him and to get this stuff straight while you didn't send him down there, right? Then, after I had to write him up, even from staff and even another chap, they try to make me feel like the victim. Like I had did something wrong, And then I played all three of those roles because it seemed like they thought I was persecuting the CO,
By writing them up.
By writing them up, right? The other staff come to me and made it sound like I did something wrong, trying to make me feel like the victim.
Yeah.
And then I was also the rescue.
Yeah.
So I got caught up in that drum trying.
Mike, the other way I look at this is like those are mirrors. You're standing in the middle. Depending which way you turn, that's the other people are the mirror for you.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to Usman, he's my mirror. I'm either persecuting, rescuing, or being his victim. So that's the way we can look at it too.
And even when the other part of this is, which I'm just getting myself, even when there's not a third person involved, all three roles are involved because one person can take on two roles.
Right.
You're getting persecuted and you're the victim and the rescuer. You're trying to rescue yourself, right? From being persecuted. And it might go back and forth. You might rescue yourself in a way that he starts to see you as the persecutor because of how aggressive you come at him. You talk about this hypothesis that we all have scripts. So everybody has really these programs that we're living by. And kind of unconsciously, we talked about unconsciously competent in our incompetence in certain ways. And these roles are always being played out. The second page is really talk about what we've been talking about, how you can become something else in this whole triangle. I want to come back to page 2, but if you go to the one after that, which is this thing here.
Drama triangle cost.
Just talking about the costs, right? The rescuer keeps victims stuck. And that's important for us because as chaplain, almost by default, we're rescuers, right? It's almost like our roles define us as rescuers. And we have, and the inmates are victims. And the officers are often, or the staff is often the persecutor, the one that are persecuted them. We're constantly doing. That is kind of what is common for our field. But the same is true for you, your son, and your wife, or a parent, a principal, and a student, or a parent, teacher, and a student. That thing is right there as well. The triangle is right there as well. A parent, a caregiver, and a child. Rescuers can, if they're not mindful, keep victims stuck and prevent them from growing. Because we don't want them to feel pain. We're trying to rescue them all the time. Ignores your own work. Seeking victims to be rescued. We look for victims. We like go around. There's the truth of this with a lot of pastors. You know, we feel good about ourselves when we rescue somebody, so we look for somebody to rescue.
It's a high.
Huh?
It's a high.
Yeah.
Fix.
For the persecutor, generally feels alone, looking for connection, inability to change, dissatisfied with other people. And so these are the general kind of characters and costs. And the victim kind of stays independent of other people, avoid learning about taking responsibility. Sounds like Rachel in some ways to me. Right? Constantly complaining and whining. And I'm going to ask you then now to flip back to the page. All right, you know what? The page behind is in the page to look at. That's behind the one we just looked at. That Prison Mindful Institute, which is a book, really kind of breaks down the definition of these things about what the rescuers are, to give you a better sense and feel about, just as you sit with this, if it's important to you, to get a better handle on the different roles and what they mean. And the drama position is great. This is beautiful. The persecutors are saying, I'm okay, you're not. Generally, that's generally the position of the persecutor. The rescuer is like, I'm okay, you're not okay. Wait a minute. Oh,
Same thing.
Same thing. I didn't notice that. I thought it was saying something different.
But,
I thought it was saying, I'm not okay. Yeah, I'm okay, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the victim is, I'm not okay, but you're okay. Or, I'm not okay, and you're not okay. Kind of how do we get off this triangle? That's the thing. Look, I want to turn this over and just, in your own wisdom and experience, what would you imagine is the way off this thing?
in my case, I would just say, the guy's been arrested. He's going to be incarcerated. Lives on the other side of this continent. And that's it. They'll let me know if there's any other problems. And, maybe I'll do something more, maybe a protective order against him, something which would then alert me immediately when he's out, if he travels and moves. And that's it. I don't have to continue to be victimized.
And get a firearm.
I got a dog.
Yeah.
I have a really good dog.
He's a rescue dog. He's going to look at you. Yeah. He needs some love.
He will sense the tension in the guy and he'll go sit next to him.
I would say,
That's how he's feeling, but
Go ahead, Robert.
I would say, listen to the other or the others,
Mm-hmm.
and place yourself in each of their shoes. So if I think you're the persecutor, put myself in your shoes and see why you're thinking you're a persecutor. You say you're a victim. Why are you a victim? And then look at myself. Am I trying to rescue or am I trying to resolve?
Mm-hmm.
There's differences. Trying to rescue is trying to bring somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to resolve, you're throwing somebody a life saver.
Mm-hmm. Good. Nice.
I don't think there's a way out.
Yeah, okay.
I think taking his example, inmates will always be persecuted as long as the dynamics remain the same. That guy is not going to change. They're going to remain feeling that way. Their way out is to quit the job. He has no option of quitting the job. He can choose to run, go somewhere else, which may or may not be a very good thing to do. The persecutor is set in his way. He's not going to stop persecuting. So the triangle will continue, and I think my task is not to try to end it, but to learn how to deal with it. Understanding that it is part of what I'm going through. It's part of my job now to have this idiot in here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Get a gun.
Get a gun. My God, it solves so many problems.
Anyone else want to come in?
I mean, it could be tempting to minimize the conflict.
Getting off the triangle.
So how do you not minimize the conflict?
So the triangle kept intact the way it is, it's going to breathe the kind of same stuff. So you getting off the triangle doesn't mean that there's another triangle. It just means you're not on it. You're not on that triangle. Right? You're not caught in that web. You're taking a meta view, a meta position. So looking at it from outside and going, okay, so your emotions are not getting caught up in it. Because when you're in the triangle, you're going to feel some way about the persecutor, right? If you're the rescuer or the victim. So it's to step aside and to acknowledge, okay, I'm caught up in this triangle. Even in my family, I'm caught up in this triangle, going around in circles, accusing each other, flipping roles, and getting nowhere. Because the end result of the triangle is not progress. It's just deeper resentment and more trauma. The trauma just produces more trauma. So getting off might mean I'm stepping away from it, and it might be able to just deal with this guy in a way different than how I'm dealing with it now, but I'm not caught up in the triangle, right? So on that page, you can look at it now. Talks about recognize the fact that you're on a triangle, which most of us often are not aware. Just the awareness of it will give you some insight. Oh, I'm caught up in this thing. Earlier, I think you once mentioned about holding your seat. I said that. It might have been holding your space. Same thing, holding your seat, holding your space. And really, it's holding what is your integrity, right? And what is good and right for you. Owning your own feelings rather than the "you are" statements and the kind of pointing and accusing. You're breaking the triangle by recognizing those are the kind of language you're using to kind of continue the drama triangle. You can't change the persecutor. You certainly can change you, and what you do differently might affect. If there's no fight for him to fight, if he doesn't have a victim, if you don't make yourself a victim, the persecutor won't keep persecuting because he's not having a victim. He's only going after folk when he finds he can. He'll only maintain the persecutor role if there's a victim
To play the counter role.
Exactly. So when you step out of that, he might now feel like he's a victim. Right? Like, oh, I'm being persecuted. They don't want to fight with me.
But now it's his problem.
It's his problem. It's not yours. Right? And he'll find some other triangle to keep the drama
You're
going.
off the triangle now. He's going to
You got to get up. Very well. You can't prevent him from going to find another triangle. That's not your role on our job.
Right.
You just have to be mindful of your own participation in the triangle.
Yeah.
And this is not just at work. This is at home. This is with our spouses and our kids that we get caught up in these triangles. Yeah. And in the heat of the battle, it's often hard.
I'm the father. That's
but now you can say, okay, what role am I playing? Just that pause and that question to yourself gives enough space for the temperature to come down in you as you try to process. Am I being a persecutor here, or where am I? Just to, in that allowing the mind to keep telling the narrative that generates trauma, that the product of it is going to be trauma. And then I love this, in it is like being clear about what is it that you need, right? Whether it's respect, space, just saying clear what you need, not fighting and arguing about how wrong the other person is being. This is what I need. They might still act like a jerk, but you're clear. You're being clear. You're operating in the space. You're doing everything you can to not allow this triangle to continue the way it's doing. And making clear dual agreements, right? Like, okay, what can we agree on together? Even the smallest thing. Let us start to agree on something simple. And I think because persecutors like to win, to agree on something small, you're able to, if you are careful in your intention, to just keep adding on that agreement and expanding it. Will they always keep the agreement? No. But one, you're practicing, because you're practicing how to do this as an effective communicator and person for yourself and all the other relationships, not just the one at work. And then the person you might find something that you can live with, right? That's not what I want, but it's better than what we were doing before. There's antagonism and fighting, and that's going on, so you're able to address that.
I had a situation, and thinking about it as you were talking about it, I think I remember the inmate that kept saying, Satan loves you. Satan loves you.
Yeah.
He used to do that to another chaplain. The other chaplain got to the point that he wrote him up. So when I came into the unit, the first thing he does, Satan loves you! And he real mean, like almost evil, Satan loves you! And at first I was in shock, and I started taking the victim.
Yeah,
And now
yeah.
I started persecuting also.
Of course. Yeah.
But then I realized it's not going to stop.
Right.
And I said, okay. And the next time he says, Satan loves you. Yes, I know, but Jesus loves me more. With that, and then, he kept saying, and finally he got to the point where he says, because I used to go by and say, God bless you. I go by the cell and say, God bless you. And he'd come up with that. Then instead of doing that, I would come by and say, have a wonderful evening. Have a peaceful evening. And that would be it. And now, we talk to each other and everything. Every once in a while, he still says it, but it's in a different way now.
Yeah.
It's more of a joking way than trying to get me to react. Yeah. So I had to step out of the triangle.
Yeah.
From being a victim
Exactly.
and from being a persecutor to, okay, hold on. How can, we work together instead of...
You're going to choose a role. The only way you stay on the triangle is to pick a role.
Right.
Am I going to be a victim? Or am I going to hit back and be a persecutor?
Right.
Right? Or am I going to be a rescuer?
Right.
Yeah. I stay out of being on the triangle a lot through humor, like for that guy. If I saw him again, I would say, I'm glad to see that you're feeling good today.
It's sort of, that's what I was saying. Yeah,
This guy is something
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a wonderful
Good.
evening.
I know you're feeling good, and that's what you usually say. So
Yeah.
everything's status
And
quo.
he would laugh, and he would smile, and then now, he doesn't, hey.
I would
Once
say,
in a while, he'll go back and say, loves you? And I say, yeah, Jesus loves you more.
That's,
And we
that's your
laugh.
way.
We
That's your
smile
way.
at each other. Yeah.
I would be like, I know, and I love him too. Because he needs some love.
And that would be your way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then boundaries, right? Making kind of boundaries is important for us to be clear about what are the healthy boundaries to be made and what boundaries are lacking for us. I don't think we think about that a lot. What are the boundaries that are lacking? And what are the boundaries that I need to place on others, and even the boundaries I need to place on myself? Because sometimes I don't have boundaries, right? Sometimes my boundaries, whatever they are, might be the cause of this triangle being perpetuated.
Also,
Because it could be a trigger, right? So my boundaries might allow maybe Ramon's example is a good example. He's kind of if his boundaries was like I'm the authority, you're not going to talk to me like that.
I'm gonna write you
then
up.
he writes them up. Right? Your personal boundary. I mean, you need to check it. Like, okay, you know, I'm going to expand my boundary to give that guy the space to be who he is. That has nothing to do with me. That's kind of a boundary, right?
What sort of, where you're stuck at? You're stuck at, I'm the authority figure.
Yeah.
You could be stuck at, I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever your boundary, whatever your, because really our values and our belief systems are our boundaries, in part. And so it's part of that belief system not allowing for that to unfold without it being a big issue. Well, it being drama. It became drama for that chap because it's like, you know, his belief system was like, that's unacceptable. He's provoked because he said the devil loves him. Right?
Maybe
It was a trigger. And the truth be told is part of what they're saying in the next portion of this, talk about how do I stay off the drama trauma, said to become aware of your drama hooks. Because we all have hooks. We all have things that trigger us. I mean, really, that's kind of what it's saying. What are your triggers? Are you getting triggered? Because your trigger is going to pull you into this defensive response.
And the persecutor is gonna see that
Oh,
and
yeah.
those triggers
play out.
Oh, yeah.
and play on it because
You know, that's right.
Go ahead.
It's harder when there's more of an equal power, right, with colleagues. I can see it being harder with an annoying inmate.
yeah, it would be.
So what would be an example of a boundary?
So, I mean, part of the boundary there is he's a facilitator, right? And I don't know if he's kind of really used that as, you know, the relationship. We can have some boundaries on this relationship since this is not working the way you're.
Yeah.
And then the other boundary could be just being clear about the comment. You don't think kindly of the comments about the constant little drips about my age and diapers and all that kind of stuff. It's demeaning. The guy might not even get that. You know, he's just wrestling with his own age and his own insecurity about not being as useful as he used to be.
Or a young man being in a higher.
That's part of what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's wrestling with all of that. But I think a lot of it has to do with his own sense of not being over the hill. But maybe that's the best word I have right now, right? That how we go to these young cats. Why didn't I get it? All those kind of, I'm wiser, better. But that's all the stuff that's going on in his head, and he may be aware of it, and he may not be aware of it, right? So, being clear about what your needs are, that those comments, how the comments affect you. Now he knows, and he might still be antagonist and be a persecutor, but you're still doing everything you can to stay off the triangle. And then the other boundaries can also be in terms of, he's a facilitator. I don't know what's going on, what he's doing with the inmates, but just to say, hey, as a facilitator, I'll instruct the inmates. I'll whatever it is that he's doing, and to inform the inmates that come to me. He doesn't ever say this. I don't know enough to.
I mean, is this helpful for your drama?
It is helpful. I just worry that if I take a more confrontational approach, it might further undermine the inmates because I'm not always there and it does a lot of second shift. So a lot of drama happens when I'm not there.
Can we do a role play?
Sorry?
Can we do a role play?
Sure.
I'm him.
Okay.
What are some of the things he does again? He messes up with your volunteers.
It gives the inmates a hard time. The workers.
All right. What do these guys think they're, who do these guys think they are?
Oh, he would never say that to me.
All right, just give me a little more than how I would say.
Okay, so typically he doesn't say anything to me. Everything I hear
Okay.
from other chaplains who are around when the drama happens, or the inmates themselves.
So how does he act?
He won't let me do my work properly. He keeps telling me that I gotta do something else after you told me to clean the bathrooms or clean the chapel. He just doesn't let me do it.
So you playing the inmate now.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm gonna quit, right? You're gonna quit.
I'm gonna quit. That's it. I can't take it anymore. I'm gonna look for another job.
Right, because we have an incident now.
Wait, we're in a roll here. So I'm going to say what I think he's thinking, right? Even though he doesn't say it, because otherwise I can't.
Okay, so this
That's what he said.
actually happened. So I said to the inmate, I understand what you're going through. Unfortunately, there isn't much I can do about it because he's a staff member and you're an inmate, so there's that power disparity. If this place is making you, is stressing you out, I totally respect your decision to leave, and I'll write you a letter of reference that you are an outstanding worker, and I wish you the best if you choose to leave.
These
You're not
inmates,
standing up for me.
they have to know who the boss is. These inmates, and I know about this stuff because I was been a chaplain when I graduated this academy while you were still in diapers, so I know.
You
So,
said
but-
that.
but the
You're not
inmates
standing up for me.
The inmates know that I can't stand up for them in that sense because even though I'm the facilitator, we're all equal. I'm not his boss. I'm not his supervisor. It's a fake promotion if you look at it that way. We all understand the dynamics between facilitators and other chaplains.
Yeah.
I'm not a supervisor.
I know you're not.
So-
And you were in diapers when.
You're the victim.
No, in terms of me not standing up for the inmates,
You're the victim.
as far as I know, I
Okay,
cannot
so-
stand up for them.
The reality on the ground is a level of unfairness, and you're the victim of that unfairness. How do
In
you?
essence.
Wheels.
Actually, I just remember something.
Sorry.
He asked me to fire them. So they know I'm standing up for them by not firing them. Because one, I don't think they did anything wrong. And they both know that he's asked me to fire them several times.
So let's play that out. I think you should fire him. These guys are really out of control.
But what did he do this time?
They think they're in charge of the place,
How do you mean? I don't understand.
I mean, they get a job and then they don't have to wash the floor. They think they own the place already. The way that they're strutting around.
Did he do a bad job with the cleaning?
I don't know, but we can't let them get too up and mighty. You're thinking they have to know that they're always in minutes.
Oh yes, but I think they understand that. I really don't understand what you're trying to get at.
Well, I mean, you don't have any authority over me. This is just a
Has he
false
said
promotion.
that?
So
Yes, he said that.
I've been a chaplain since you were in diapers. So where are we going with this conversation?
Okay, so the diaper thing, he wouldn't put that in this confrontation. He actually does that when we appear to be having a normal conversation.
Okay. Not in a confrontation.
Not in the confrontation. No, he's too smart for that. He won't do that.
It's doing what my wife does. 3 hours later, she tells me, "Oh, by the way, and also." What? Ah.
All right. So, but
He's passive aggressive with his diaper comments.
Yeah.
how can you exert your authority in this facility that you are the facilitator? He's making your job harder by you're training them and making relationships with them, and he's running them out, and you are giving off right now the impression that you're helpless. And I wonder if that's true.
I think I've already made my statement. I use the silent treatment number one. He says fire the workers that I'm not firing the workers.
You decided to keep it on him.
On him. I don't fire the workers, we don't have a conversation about it. Because he knows that if we have a conversation, my point hasn't changed. Because I simply said, I won't fire him until he does something that is obviously problematic. That if he breaks the rules here, then I'll fire him. But if there's no evidence of any, wrongdoing, I wouldn't fire him because from a religious standpoint, it constitutes oppression. And I'm sure you can identify with that as a man of faith. Then he keeps quiet about that.
But then he turns around and persecutes them when you're not looking. In
Yeah,
essence,
no,
by doing that, he's persecuting you.
So he takes it out on them, and I feel guilty about it. But the inmates understand.
How can you
Anyway, you're still being a victim.
use your authority to get
What?
make a change?
Yes, no.
No,
Yeah,
this person.
but he does have personal
position.
responsibility. Have you told him how you really feel about that and how it's really a problem for you?
Yes, but he made fun of me. I wasn't direct enough. So I said, part of our roles as chaplains is to mentor some of the inmates in ways that don't constitute undue familiarity. And I think that there are ways we can do that because we want to work with faith communities.
I just heard something.
That's not doing.
When you said part of our roles, it felt like, but that's so. There's a part of it that felt like, oh, now you're going to teach me about how I should be as a chaplain. Part of our roles. Oh, okay. I've been here since you had diapers. I kind of see how that triggered him. Just that statement.
You know, I didn't think of that far until this was me trying to be polite and trying to avoid confrontation.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to have some competition.
I think anyone,
You know,
who constantly treat inmates like that, work in chaplains, it's really time for them to retire. You know, because because I work in the same situation with chaplains who, and I had to establish boundaries with them because I was new there, but they were doing things so totally contrary. You know, one time I had called a young man who was going down the hall. I know a lot of these kids, man, 'cause they grew up. I had some in school. You know, I'm from Bridgeport, so a lot of them are incarcerated now. So I bumped into them. I can't avoid them. You know, some might know. So I worked with him. So one kid was going down the hall one day, and he said, "Man, can I come?" So I said, "Yeah, brother." I said, "No problem." I said, "I'll put you on the list and make sure you can come, right?" So the chaplain looked at me and said, "You like your job?" I said, "Yeah, I love my job. But I ain't your brother." I said, "That is my brother." He said, "No, it ain't. That's an inmate." I said, "We can shortly be inmates." I said, "Today we're on this side of the fence, you know, but tomorrow we'll be on the other side of the fence." I said, "That's my brother. He just happened to be incarcerated." See, and I wasn't looking, you know, I said, "Wow," right? And so, and as time went, I kept seeing it, so I told him, I said, "Listen, man, you know, you see it the way you want to see it. Maybe you've been here too long." You know, I told him, I said, "Maybe you've been here too long." Because I started seeing a spirit on how he was dealing with the inmates. When they would come through, they stop, you got a Bible, bunch of Bibles right there. Send your request. Give him a Bible. You know what I mean? He's one, you know. So when guys would come by, I would give him literature, right? So then one day, and I had to set another boundary with him, right? Was when I would go make tours, I would take all kinds of literature because sometimes they wasn't making the tours like I was making. Right. So they would say, "Yo, man, I'll never see the chaplain, and blah blah blah.
Yes.
I need a Bible. I send me." I said, "Okay." So I take the name. I said, "Next time I come through, I'll bring the Bible for you." I said, "Sometimes he's just busy." I said, "He'll get here when he can, but if I come through again, I'll do it." And that's what I did. I put a little package together and I go through and get it. So then I told him, I said, "Yeah," I said, "I took care of a couple of your parishioners, man." He said, "You can't do that." I said, "No, I just passed out. They had requests for Bibles. They've been asking, you know, you hadn't had a chance to tour, so I just thought I'd do it for you." He said, "The Jews have their literature, the Catholics have their people, the Christians have their people, and you Muslims, and you have your people. We all have, we do our own." I said, "We chaplains." I said, "I'm here to serve all the humanity, bro." I said, "I don't see it." I said, "You sound like we gangbangers." It just saw his face, you know? And I had to keep doing this with him, man.
So you keep jumping out to a larger perspective.
Yeah, my boundaries were expanding. I didn't have those
And
limited
you
boundaries.
directly, confidently call out your colleagues.
Yeah.
On their small vision.
Okay. I got another one now because he retired. Now we have another one. He's assuming all this responsibility.
Is that helpful?
It is. I think now I'm beginning to become aware of my own, you know, cultural limitations. Because culturally, I still respect him as a man old enough to be my own father.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it hard for me. Each time I get disrespectful, I perceive that I was being disrespectful, I feel bad about it because I feel like it's a betrayal of my own upbringing and my own cultural understanding of interactions between people of an older age or a certain age and people who are younger. So maybe that is an element of my own cultural limitation too. I don't feel comfortable. It's not because I'm scared. I just don't feel comfortable doing that. If we were about the same age, I think I'll be more inclined to talk to him about it directly. But since he's older, I don't know how to approach him without, saying something stupid or rude. Plus, I don't trust myself because the anger has been building up inside. I think that when I eventually do confront him, I might end up saying something nasty. I don't want to put myself in that situation.
But that's gonna happen if you don't. If you don't.
So far, my silent treatment is working, but the inmates are still suffering. So I sort of told them strategies to
Who's this
avoid.
silent treatment working for?
Well, in terms of the snide remarks about my age, because a lot of that comes out when we hang out during lunch or just have casual conversations. I don't do that anymore. Everything is about business. I don't go to his office to make jokes or anything. Good morning, good night, Anything I talk about has to be about business. I don't smile as much. I don't invite, opportunities for him to come hang out with me. And so, no more, I don't get any of that.
So those are your boundaries, you said.
Yeah.
But Lionel's a little more direct than me, but I find that it's most powerful when I can stay calm and just say exactly
Give them soft eyes.
I feel. Yeah. They can say, I work really hard cultivating these inmates, and they all you kind of running them off, and I want to just ask you to let me handle them. Would that be all right? And I didn't yell. I didn't say anything really disrespectful, but I just said what really is the elephant in the room, it's pretty direct. He'll have to respond. You're not giving him any wiggle room.
He's better than me at playing games. I can tell that he's been doing this for a long time. He's always a step ahead of me.
He's a really good persecutor.
He's very good at it. And I think he's gotten so deep that I don't think he recognizes what he's doing or he doesn't care about it. Either way, the ethical implications for me are very serious.
So he's an unconscious expert persecutor.
Possibly.
Maybe conscious.
That,
The reason why he's doing it.
Another chaplain said he has a personality disorder. But I don't know anything about psychology to that extent to say that categorically. So I just,
The reason why I challenge because maybe because I'm new in the jail as a paid chaplain. I've been going into the prison all the time. So when I see, and I think we're there for the inmates to try to help them, to give them some hope, give them something to hold on to. There's prison sentence already a sense of punishment for them. It's already punitive, right? And so when I see that we're supposed to represent something that gives them hope and clarity, and then we are doing the opposite. We start becoming the persecutors to the very people we should be trying to help and rescue.
Right.
It bothers me, and I can't sit idly by when I see that happening. And I remember at one time the chaplain told me when I wrote up I had to write up the CO, right? I wrote him up, and I didn't write him up. The CO wrote himself up by not doing what he was supposed to do. He gave me the tools to write him up. I can't just write you up unless you do something wrong. So he pulls me in the chapel.
The CO did?
No, the chaplain, who was the facilitator. Yo, man, they think you more with the inmates than you with us. I said, with us? Who's us? I said, I'm here as a chaplain. He said, but you, I said, they can't think that, brother. I said, you think that. I said, 'cause I don't have no problems with anybody. I said, this is the first time I'm writing somebody up. And I said, the captain told me to write him up. In fact, the CO wrote himself up, right? You see how I dress? I got my black pants on, my black shoes, my hat, shirt on it, hat, public corrections. Walking, radio on his hip. So you know nothing. I said, so you look like the CEO. I said, I ain't the CEO. The chaplain. I kind of look like them. You know what I mean? It ain't my job. I want to be a CO. I'd have went there, the academy to be a CO. And so the next day, I put my chaplain jacket on. You might have seen it a few times.
Yeah.
My white jacket.
Yeah, man.
I got a chaplain jacket. Like I'm a doctor.
I told
The
you.
next day, I wore it for about 2 weeks. Kept wearing this how I'm dressed. You know, until they started trying to make mockery. Oh, you're a doctor. And I said, yeah, you didn't know. I was sent to make the blind see and the deaf hear. I'm a physician. Right? And so the point I was making was that I don't want to get so entangled, so I have my boundaries. I don't want to get so entangled in, having this authority over somebody and having a job, and then it just becomes a job. It's no longer ministry. And I'm just worrying about what my 401k looked like and how much time I got left to retire. And now it just becomes a preoccupation of you trying to get out. And so I have boundaries where I think I want to stay with them.
On this page, it says how you get off. So the victim gets off the drama triangle. The victim needs to own their own vulnerability, and take responsibility for themselves, and also recognize that they have power. How did that story? How did you own your vulnerability?
Right here.
What you mean?
Page two.
Saying that.
As a two on the lower.
You owned a vulnerability that they were not owning, the COs or the other chapters.
Right.
What was that vulnerability?
That's why I owned it. You said,
What vulnerability?
I don't understand.
I'm kind of fishing. You were saying any one of us could be an inmate.
Right.
So what you're calling them out on this fake triangle,
Right.
which makes them different than us,
Right.
right? We're all vulnerable.
We're all vulnerable. Right.
Um,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's
and then-
because I have seen that.
But
I
you
have
also-
seen COs.
So vulnerability,
Become
but
inmates.
also you took responsibility for yourself and recognized that you have power.
Right.
How did you do that? What power do you have?
Well, I believe that when you have set boundaries, we're taught in Islam that Allah has set boundaries, so do not overstep them. And when you make a commitment to do something, it's like I'm not serving mankind; I'm serving my Lord first. And so, if I'm serving God first, and in order to serve God, I have to serve humanity in order for God to be pleased with me. So, when I study different scriptures and how when Isaiah said, he came to set the captives free, he came to open up the prison to those who are bound. So we have a role to try to bring that to them. And then when I see that I think people are reinforcing the punishment, and we're supposed to be in the role of trying to really help alleviate some of the pain that they feel, then I can't say that by, because we're also taught by our prophet, peace be upon him, if you see something wrong, right, you try to change it with your hands. If you don't have the power to change it with your hands, you speak out against it. And then if you don't have the heart to speak out against it,
And then I'll be done.
hate in your heart.
Is there a way that you can embrace your vulnerability that's being ignored, and also embrace your power that makes you out? And maybe that's something to think about more, but I don't want to.
I would say two things. That having a conversation with him and trying to find out maybe he already done this, I don't know. Like really where he is. See if you can get what's behind the affront. Like what is the insecurity there? He might not know not the words, but what is really there for him to feel the way he's feeling and do what he's doing? And it might give you enough tools to help him to feel comfortable that the relationship changes with how he responds to the inmate. And just in terms of how you approach. Because being silent is not going to help him and it's not helping you. It's helping you for the moment. It's not sending off triggers for you. but it's still all that stuff is still brewing, and that behavior is just becoming deeper and deeper for him. And he might even think you support it in some way because you're silent.
Oh, he knows I don't support him.
You're scared of
Oh,
him.
he knows that for sure.
You may also
I
you're
think-
scared of him.
No, he knows that I'm not scared of him too.
Hold on, before we go any further. Page 3. The page 3, the last kind of thing it says, it's an exercise. Think of a situation where you know you've been a rescuer or a prosecutor, kind of what you, pretty much where we are right now. And there's a list of questions you're saying to ask, which might help to give you some clarity about how you get off, right? What am I not doing in this relationship, in this triangle? Right? What do I need to do? Who is taking responsibility from whom? Who am I taking responsibility for? You know, all those kind of questions. You know, who has the power? How do I know? Have I agreed to do more than I want to do? What am I not doing, right? What do I need? Oh, I already did this. I think it's asking for a different person. And I'm using my power to take care of myself. Am I using the power to take care of myself properly? What am I feeling about this? All right. I mean, I think kind of wrestling with some of those questions might help to get some clarity on it. And of course, some triangles are going to be harder to get off because of our own stuff, right? Part of your script about your culture, your belief about that, respecting the elderly, the senior. That's all filtering it's filtering the possibilities. It's like, I can't do any of these things because that's not culturally appropriate. And it might be what you need to do. And then, you guys don't have this, but this is essentially the flip side of the drama triangle. And you can't see it, but if you go to a page where the triangle is, right?
Put that one on page 1.
Page?
Yeah. You go to page 1, and where it says persecutor, above it, right, challenger. And where it says victim, right, co-creator. And where it says rescuer, right, coach. This is the healthy version of the triangle. Right? And this is the role you would strive for if you find yourself, because this is the truth. We are more inclined to have defaults to one of these, the drama triangle. We default to a rescuer, we default to a victim, we default to a persecutor. And so to be aware of that and then to make the shift, instead of prosecuting, challenge, you know? It's not that you're trying to punish the person, you're challenging the person. The coach, he's kind of encouraging and asking questions and trying to figure out how to move the person along instead of rescuing. You're trying to help them how to find their own strength and their own voice and their own power. That's the victim I'm talking about, opposed to just trying to get them out and they never do that. You're trying to coach them to get to a healthier place. If you find yourself that you're a victim, the co-creator is trying to, instead of just defaulting and whimpering to like, oh, you know what, this guy's right, I'm wrong, or becoming defensive, that's to ask the question, like, what are the possibilities, right? Instead of being a victim, what's real here for me as a possibility? What can I do? It's to own your power. Because victims, that's the number one thing. They have no power, right? What can I do in this triangle? And that's another way you kind of stay off the triangle, is to remind yourself of these different, find out who I am, where I am on the triangle, on the drama side, and then trying to flip it to the other side, you know, to be a coach, to be a challenger, because all of us also persecute, but you know, instead of doing it in a way that makes it feel like a persecution, if we're challenging a person in a way for them to think differently, then that's the healthier side of the triangle as well.
Change the mirrors.
Huh?
Change the mirrors.
Change the mirror.
Change the mirrors.
Yeah.
So I challenge my persecutor by getting him locked up, I coached the FBI by asking them, you know, might you help me?
Mhm.
And co-creating, I guess, the outcome
Yeah,
by
exactly.
deciding
By doing something about it.
how far I'm going to go.
Yeah,
Will I make a protected
Yeah,
order
yeah.
or not? Empowerment.
Yeah.
You know.
Now you have to become the protector. Like Sammy said,
Just a protector.
because you see somebody making the wrong move with the wrong stuff, you gotta
Well,
make the right move with the right stuff.
with the protective order, I'll know where he's at. I know when he's getting out, and I'll know if he leaves the area, and then I could.
It takes 9 months to get a weapons license in Connecticut. Get the license now. Buy your gun later. If he is out and he's heading here and he is in the end of sentence and they can't control where he is, okay, and your cute little dog, okay, does not stop a bullet. That's what they do to dogs. They shoot them first. I know we're joking about it, but I am serious. If somebody's threatening my family, I want to have a sidearm. Okay, I'm not gonna be the victim of somebody who is crazy. I would rather be the victimizer. I would rather be the one who's answering, you know, I killed that man in self-defense or I injured that man in self-defense, that be written up in the paper that the rabbi could not protect himself and his family. That's how I see it. I know it's more black and white than what you're seeing it, but when someone is actually threatening me and my life and the family of my beautiful children, my 12-year-old who bakes cakes, I am not taking any chances. You know, in England, I will never buy a gun. Not that I could, but the situation there is different. Okay, I'll have a baseball bat, but in this country, where he is 1,000 times easier for him to put his hands on an illegal gun than for you to have put your hands on a legal gun. Okay, it takes about 6 to 9 months to get that license to purchase a gun. I will not wait for them to tell me he's on a plane from Oregon to Connecticut. And then go, what do I do now?
We'll have a side conversation about the side up.
I'm a great advocate of self-protection.
I want to not minimize his passion about arming you. Appreciate you offering to have that deeper conversation. And as I'm listening to you, part of what I hear is some ways, well, I won't go down that road. The challenge of not starting a drama in your own head, even though the guy not saying anything because of the fear. You know, you're kind of nervous about what happens down the road, and to not get to recognize that in your own head. So you're not a victim in wait, right?
Thank you. Good word.
And to get off that. Just in terms of the narrative you tell yourself about who you are, how much power you have, and what's going on. So you have that space and the sense to feel safe. That you're not going around with that fear, like you have no backbone.
Right. Well, we could talk about it more. I don't want to make that something. I hear what you're saying.
No, this is in relation to the triangle.
Yeah, it's trying.
This is what I'm talking about. I'm saying to don't become a victim in your own head.
Right.
On the terms of the drama triangle, just in your own imagination, the own narrative you're telling yourself about the persecutor who's locked up now, but still can persecute you from there, because even though he's not saying anything, he's saying it in your head, which is the same thing, right? And you're imagining what the possibilities are. So why not? And this is my own theory. Didn't say this anywhere. Why is not doing it live with you? You're having the same effect in your own mental space, in your mind, and that's just as real as if you
It lives in your head.
and so you're going to be living as a victim in that role.
Fear.
And so the flip to it is to have your own power, right? To find the space, whatever that might mean, however that shows up.
Yeah.
And you're kind of doing that now.
I'll learn more. I'll call the police there. Which complaint got him locked up. If it wasn't my PC father's love, if it wasn't my complaint, that's better for me.
Mhm.
It's better that he's arrested there, and not as a federal person that he's, tried over here, other state there.
And the likelihood that it was
That makes you
used
feel
is
better.
pretty high because he's not here.
He's doing it to everybody.
He's not here.
Yeah.
He's been at this game for a long time.
Yeah.
We want to be, not assume that he's not gonna do anything, but he hasn't, shown that he actually does anything. His crime generally is,
Kind of
harassment.
intimidate.
So, but we'll,
The final thing is on the back sheet. The last page is a little thing to check off to see what your proclivity is, what your primary role is on the drama triangle. You check them off and then you kind of add them up, and it will tell you if you're likely to be more the victim than the rescuer or the persecutor. I think the nature of our role is the default role is probably rescuer, but we could have strong tendency to be something else as well. So if you're interested, you can go through that and see it. You may be surprised. You might not be. Be really honest with yourself when you answer it. Don't try to be something else. Don't try to make yourself something else. Really see what's your default is, and you'll know which. Yeah, you'll know where you are. That's
Yeah.
it.
A lot of these phrases are pretty strong language.
Yeah.
You could preface each one with, when I'm at my worst. And which one is more likely?
Yeah.
Because,
That's good. You want to say no to all of them.
yeah, I mean, it's tempting, oh, well, I don't have a problem. But we all get sucked into it when we're stressed. Yeah. That's good.
Thank you. That detail is not in the book. In that book, this level of detail is not there. It's a very succinct portion for the inmates, for them to notice kind of the triangles that they're creating, whether it's with them and the victims, the real victims in their crime, and the staff, or their relationship with their children and their girl, or the CEOs and the chaplain, or the CEO and an officer, them and another inmate, all those kind of dynamics. So to pay attention, because part of the problem for all of us as human beings is we don't communicate well. And this is trying to help them in terms of how we're relating to other people, and how we're, and some of the things that might be called this stuff. So, thank you, kind sir. You can have my book back. You can have it for $25.
you might know. Don't you have to?
I do.
So that's $50.
That's right.
Do you know what the copyright on that is? Like, that's Fleet Malls, right?
Yeah.
And is it really $25?
I don't know. I think it's like $10 for the book.
But that,
Not too bad.
It looked like a few.
I give you 5 right now. I give you 5 right now.
Because I wonder if,
$7.50.
like, when you do it, do you give a book to every inmate?
Well, the volunteer that I have buys a book for all the inmates, which is
That's great.
awesome. Yeah.
Is it a faith-based program?
No.
Can you pick that up, bring it to Carl Robinson?
Huh?
Can you help me bring it to Carl Robinson?
I'll ask her. And I also ask, every Monday I go on a conference call with them to talk about people that are doing this around the country, say, kind of talk about this is what happened for me, this is how it's working. And I can ask them to find someone close to you. I don't know where this lady lives. She might be close to you anyway.
Oh, in New York.
Yeah. And they actually have a training course to certify you in teaching the class. I can send you guys that information out as well. It's good stuff. It's a good program. Kind of some of the stuff I was sharing with you for a case of understanding.
Yeah.
Was
Houses of Healing also.
Houses of Healing. Oh, that's a really great book. This is very similar to Houses of Healing.
Do we need a quick break? Yes.
Yeah, more than nature's calling.
Caffeine.
Well, the nature's called
Amen to that.
caffeine.
Oops, sorry.
Nice presentation.
Yep, very good, very good. Very interesting. Let
You know-
me know that I ain't gonna be no victim. You know what I mean?
Nor
You
a
know why it was
persecutor,
interesting, right?
nor a persecutor.
You know, it was interesting, right?
I'm just gonna be arrested.
So they didn't talk about it. They did all that. That's why I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's presentation I've been to. I didn't say a word. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment.
Hello, this is Railway Show Favor, former railway Newtown Communications, urging Jim Hines to support HR 8 requiring background